Hey, a couple of things before we really get going this morning. Pastor Stan says hello. He is on vacation out west. If you are friends with them on Facebook, you will see the Chronicle of the Journey. Karen loves to post pictures of all the food they eat. It really stinks for us because we just get to drool at our screen, but it's really, really cool. But they send their greetings for that. And the other thing is, I just want to let you guys know, I mean, we're doing great already, but I want to encourage you on our Back to School Bash. I am so excited when we do this. We raise money for backpacks over the summer, and we pick a school. Bayshore Elementary is our backyard school. There's going to be 700 backpacks, a backpack for every kid that goes to the school there that's going to be filled with school supplies, everything that they need, and we can buy it for a third of what it costs a parent to buy it because we do it in bulk. So it's only $10 per backpack, all the supplies they need, everything to be able to reach out to them, to show them the love of Jesus in a practical way. And so I just want to encourage you to do that. I mean, some of you can make that happen. I mean, we're such a giving church, but I'd love to see that goal reached over the next couple of weeks so that we can move on from that and onto the stuffing of the backpacks and seeing smiling little faces. It's always a great event to be there and to give it to them and to let them know, hey, it's free. Just take it. What color do you want? That kind of thing. So I'm super excited for that. We're going to start a brand new series today. And this series is called This Was Your Idea. And back at Easter, Pastor Stan had asked all of you to fill out, ideas, things that you wanted to know about a sermon series, things that you wanted to hear just in a particular talk. And we have listened, and so this whole series that we're going to do over the next 8 weeks is nothing but your ideas. So if you come a particular week and you're like, man, that topic was a little so-so, guess whose fault it is this time? Yeah, it's your fault this time. Normally you'd be like, John and Stan and all them, what's going on? But now it's you guys. So I'm really excited. You sent great topics, though, so I don't think it's going to happen. But today, here's what we're going to talk about. One of you guys wrote in, and there were several on this theme, so I like this particular one because it touched so many of them. What do you do when life doesn't go according to plan? When it doesn't go according to plan, when you've laid out those plans, what do you do? When you've had the meeting. Anybody ever had the meeting before? And whatever it is, you jot it down on the back of a napkin. You say, in the most ideal of circumstances, this is the way things are going to go. First thing we're going to do is this. We're going to pay off the car, and then we're going to pay off the credit cards, then we're going to pay off the house, and then we're going to pay off and then something happens down the way, somewhere in between the car and the credit cards, or maybe before we get to the car, there's that unexpected doctor's bill, or that bill that kind of comes in the mail, and you were doing so good financially, and then now all of a sudden you're off track kind of over here, or you have that talk that's like, hey, we're gonna buy a house, and it's gonna be this year, or we're gonna retire at this time, and you do your best to put all of those plans together, and you really want that. You've set a goal. You had the meeting. This is where we're going to go. This is what we're going to do. But somewhere down that road, something happens, an unexpected event, a plot twist, if you will, and then all of a sudden you were going towards that goal, and now you're kind of off that goal. This can be anything. It can be financial. It could relate to a job. It could relate to a relationship. It could relate to all kinds of different things. But what do we do whenever life gets off that path, sort of strays away? What do we do then? I love this. Whenever you watch a movie or whenever you read a book, plot twists are like the best part of that, right? Have you ever been in a movie or read a book that's just like you watch that plot twist and you're like, that was great. I never expected that to happen. You haven't talked about it in a while, so I reserve it for once or twice a year, but I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Huge Star Wars fan. My favorite plot twist is in episode 5. I can remember being a little kid, and you watched episode 5 for the first time, and Vader turns to Luke and says that I'm your father, and you're like, no, he's his dad. You pause it, you walk away, you're like, I've got to process this for a while. You know what I mean? But if you're Luke, it's good to watch, but if you're Luke, that's a bad day. My dad is the most evil person in the universe. Literally, you just kind of buy into that. You see it, when you experience it from the outside, you're like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. But when you're there, these are hard things. These are tough, sort of things. Here's the thing, though. There's nothing you can do. I wish you could take a magic pill, even if it was a magic spiritual pill. There's nothing you can do to avoid the unexpected twists and turns of life. There's nothing you can do, really. I mean, you can position yourselves, you can do things well, maybe have a few less. There is no way to avoid the unexpected turns at life. I mean, you can try to find a self-help book or something. You can follow all the rules, do anything that you want. But I'm just going to be honest, there is zero chance that you're going to avoid all of life's unexpected turns. You're not even going to avoid most of life's unexpected turns. But spiritually, with God, there is a way that you can navigate them to always get the best results. That's what you really want, right? If you can't avoid it, you want to at least get the best results from every trial and every circumstance, right? I mean, that would be the best course actually to take. The Bible actually has a term for what it means to be in the best position or to be in the best state. This term, you've heard it many times, is called being blessed. When you are blessed, you are in the best state that you can possibly be in. When we think of blessing, oftentimes we think of the thing that we do right before our meals. That's probably the way we use it culturally the most. Somebody say the blessing, right? Somebody pray over this meal, that sort of thing. We think about it as 30 seconds that we spend. God, thank you for the food, I'm hungry, amen, right? But that's not really biblically. I mean, you are asking God's blessing over the time that you're spending together, but biblically, blessing is a lot bigger. Blessing is God's favor on your life. That's what blessing is. Blessing is God's favor on your life. Blessing says that no matter what happens, it will always turn out for your good. Romans 8:28 says that. For all things happen to the good for those that love the Lord. That means when you're in relationship with God, it doesn't matter what life throws at you, doesn't matter what directions that life turns, you are always going to end up with a circumstance, maybe after a lot of hard things, maybe after a lot of even time sometimes, but God will always make sure that it works out for your good. Why does he do that? Because when you have a relationship with God, when you have Jesus in your heart, you are blessed. Blessing says that no matter what happens, you will always be safe. No matter what. It doesn't matter what bill comes in the mail. It doesn't matter whether your landlord evicts you tomorrow. It doesn't matter whether you have a car or don't have a car or any of those things that we want that brings us safety, that we say, hey, if I just had that, if I just had these things. Blessing says that no matter what gets taken away from you, no matter what turns actually come in life, with God, you will always be safe. And blessing says something else. God's blessing, his favor, always says that in the end, you will prosper. In the end, you will prosper. There may be hard times. There may be difficult choices. There may be tough things to go through. It's not that everything's going to be all roses. But in the end, God's blessing is always linked to prospering. He always wants to see you through, and that's what we wanted, right? We said that just a minute ago. If we can't avoid life's things, I just want the best outcome that could possibly come. I want God to lead me through whatever trials and whatever challenges there are. I want the best. And God's blessing says that you will have that best, whatever it is. So the question really becomes, what do I do? Okay, so if I can't avoid those things, how do I live my life? What decisions should I make? What is this pattern so that I am in God's blessing? How do I do that? What does that look like? And I love it because there's a great story that will lead us through this. There's a great story. The guy's name that we're going to talk about this morning, his name is Isaac. You guys know Father Abraham. Abraham's the first guy that God calls and makes the whole nation of Israel. We sing that song, Father Abraham had many sons, and many sons had Father Abraham. That's the song that kind of goes. Here's the thing, though. Father Abraham actually started with one son, okay? Isaac is the son of that promise. Everybody would come. Father Abraham would have many sons. That's because Isaac would have sons, because Jacob would have sons, and Joseph would have sons. All those people would have sons. There'd be many, many kind of down the line. But Isaac is Abraham's son. And Isaac experienced a series of unexpected events. And if we're wanting really to know how God wants to show us, how God wants to shape us really through the middle of these kinds of things, we better find a guy that's walking the same kind of path that we walked, right? That's what we would do in the world. We'd find somebody that had lived that way, that had made those decisions, be like, hey, I'm going to hang around you for a little while. So we're going to hang around Isaac for a little while today. So if you have your Bible or you want to open up your app, the scripture will be on the screen, but it's always good to make those muscles work and do it ourselves. Genesis 26 is where we're going to be. We're going to start in verse 12 and go through most of the back half of the chapter. So Genesis 26, we'll start in 12. And here's what I want to do. Here's what we're going to read. Isaac planted crops in that land. He's in a new place, in a new land. He planted crops. And in the same year, reaped 100-fold because the Lord blessed him. That's pretty cool, right? I mean, I wish I could make anything turn into 100 times better. Wouldn't that be cool? I mean, just to walk up, put a seed in the ground, it comes out, it's 100 times better than the seed that actually came in there. This is what it is because the Lord blessed him. The man became rich, and his wealth continued to grow until he became very wealthy. He had so many flocks and herds and servants that the Philistines envied him. That's human nature, right? I mean, has anybody ever had a coworker get a new car, and then all of a sudden you're like, I gotta have a new car. You have the moments it's so shiny, you know what I mean? And you look at that car commercial, you don't fast forward 3 times on the DVR. You slow it down to 1 time because you're like, man, that Beamer looks good. You kind of go through that. You do that. It's human nature. That's the way it is. That's what's happening. All these Philistines around him are envying him because he has so much success. So all the wells that his father's servants had dug in the time of his father Abraham, the Philistines stopped up, filling them with earth. Then Abimelech, he's the king in this story, said to Isaac, move away from us. You have become too powerful for us. This is pretty interesting. So this Isaac guy, he's got God's blessing, God's favor. He puts the seed in the ground. He puts his livestock out to the pasture. I mean, literally, everything is growing. Everything is exploding to the point where everybody around him wants to be this guy. And so here's what they do. They live in an agricultural society. That's what it is. There's no money, there's no that sort of thing. I mean, you're trading agricultural goods, really. That's the way their economy kind of works. You want to hurt Isaac the best way you could possibly hurt Isaac. You want to get at him, you want to get underneath his skin. What's the one thing that everything in the agricultural world needs? Water. It has to have water. The crops don't come in without water. The livestock doesn't live without water. And we take water for granted, but water is very hard to get if you don't have a faucet. This is not an easy sort of thing, okay? This is a hard sort of thing. You dig wells. We're not talking dig because we think dig and we're like, yeah, you get the crane or you get the drill and you have the pump. We get the water out of the ground. You're talking crude shovels out in the middle of nowhere digging a well. This is a very, very hard thing to do. And so the Philistines come through and they basically turn off the water. They come through and they take all this earth, they take all this dirt, and they fill up all of the wells. This is a very, very bad day. The sheep are thirsty now. The crops are thirsty now, and there is no well. And Abimelech comes along and he says, move away from us. You have become too powerful for us. And the first thing that I want to draw our attention to really from this story is that life with God is powerful. Life with God is powerful. You can expect it. If you have a relationship with him, expect God's life. The life that he gives us, expect power to come with that. If you're here today and you want a relationship with him, you want to know what it's going to be like, it's going to be hard. We're going to see that it was hard for Isaac, but you can expect God's power in your life when you walk with him. In that, what I want you to know is all of these kinds of things that happen, everything that we're going to read about, and this is really important to flavor our text, everything we're going to read, Isaac is the good guy in this story. He's going to do everything kind of right. Every step that he's going to make, he's doing the right thing. He's looking at the path. You're not really going to reach a point. Maybe there's a time where he could make a decision sooner, but for the most part, he's making the right decisions. And this is really important because when the events of life come, when the unexpected twists and turns kind of come, the first thing that we often say is, what did I do wrong? What did I do to deserve or to get whatever is going on in my life? I got the pink slip at work, but they're downside. What did I do to deserve that? Maybe you did something, but oftentimes you just won't. Maybe the company's just letting you go, and you're like, what did I do? Where did I go? Why am I deserving this? What I like about this story is maybe sometimes we make decisions where we have consequences, but Isaac didn't. Isaac was doing everything right. Isaac was experiencing God's blessing, and still the hard times came, in his life. I also want you to know that Abimelech, this king, is also a good guy. As a matter of fact, the story that comes directly before this story, Isaac comes into the land and basically makes the same decision his father did. He comes up, his wife Rebecca is super hot. I'm talking like she's a 10 out of 10. I mean, super, super hot. And so they move into this area. Anybody got a hot wife? You know, you guys raise your hand. Now is it. I'm not going to look. You just raise your hand. Brownie points. Yes. He comes into the land and he's afraid. He comes into the land and he's afraid because when he comes in, he thinks she's so hot, he thinks they're going to kill him to get to her. He's going to be out somewhere, somebody's going to whack him and be like, I'm taking your hot wife, man. And so when he comes into the land, he actually tells them that she's his sister. And this goes so far, same thing his dad did. I mean, he learned the same thing from his dad. So he goes into the land, he does that. One day, the king, Abimelech, sees him out in the field, and he's getting handsy on his wife. The text says that he was caressing her. He's getting handsy. You got a hot wife, you put your hands on it, right? That's what happens. He's getting handsy with her out in the field, and he says, I saw you getting handsy. That is not your sister. What are you doing? You're going to bring a curse down upon us. This is a good dude, right? This is a good dude. He's like, listen, you're doing the wrong thing. We want to do the right kind of thing. Abimelech is even a good dude in this story. And so here's what it is. All of these things that are going down are happening. You got good dudes doing good things, but still bad things happen. How does Isaac navigate this? What does God lead him? How does God show up? Let's continue to read. Genesis 26, 17 to 22. Here's what Isaac does. So Isaac moved away from there and encamped in the valley of Gerar where he settled. So he's moving. He says, okay, fine. He moves back. Isaac reopened the wells that had been dug in the time of his father Abraham. Further away, reopens old wells, a lot of hard work, which the Philistines had stopped up after Abraham died. Nobody's using them. He gave them the same names his father had given them. Isaac's servants dug in the valley and discovered a well of fresh water there. But the herders of Gerar quarreled with those of Isaac and said, the water is ours. So he named the well Esek. Esek means strife, because they disputed with him. Then they dug another well. So this is round 3. They dug another well, but they quarreled over that one also. So he named it Sitnah. Sitnah means hostility. He moved on from there and dug another well, and no one quarreled on it. So that's step 4. Now we're at the 4th level of wells. He named it Rehoboth, saying, now the Lord has given us room, and we will flourish in the land. This is pretty wild. So they had original wells in the first passage. The Philistines filled those in. So they backed up. He reopened Abraham's wells. The herders of Gerar backed those up. Then he opened more wells. The herders came in and stopped those up. Now finally he's retreated all the way back to this other place, Rehoboth, and he's opened up his 4th set of wells. How many know that brother is tired of digging? Okay? He is tired. He's like, no more shoveling. No more shoveling, okay? He's done with that. And I really identify with that. There's a period of time in my life that I went through an experience kind of like this. I got saved when I was 18. I don't know how many of you know my testimony, but that's when my relationship with God, it just became real, and my life changed dramatically. I mean, little things over a long period of time, but that was a dramatic moment for me. Life with Jesus is so much better than life without Jesus. And after that, God just brought about a series of events in my life to where I almost instantaneously ended up going to Bible college. I went there. I really didn't know anything about the scriptures, didn't know anything, and we went from 0 to whatever so fast. I don't even want to make it look like this was like a really pretty journey. I mean, it was a difficult journey even through there. I went to a Bible college to major in business. You know what I mean? It's like, what? Why would you do that? You know, and halfway through, God was starting to work on my life, and I sort of double majored in business and Bible, and then finally, at the end, I dropped the business thing off the back end. I said, you know what, God, I feel your calling on my life. You know, this is where the life comes from, and God, I feel like this is where you want me to go. The thing was, I graduated, I did everything right, but I didn't have any ministry connections. I had basically just gotten saved, just went to Bible college. All my friends, everybody who was really at the school, they came from a denomination. And so when they went back, they had denominational connections. They knew how to get into a church and to kind of work, and do all those things. Or some of them were missionary kids or even pastors' kids. And they had all of those kinds of connections. I had zero connections. And so I was ready to go. I had learned a lot about the Bible. I needed to learn a lot about ministry along the way. But I knew a lot about the Bible at the time. And I was like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And I got married to my wife right out of college. We waited until after graduation. And we were up in Georgia, and we decided to move down here. This is my hometown, and I wanted to come here, wanted to kind of work here. It just felt like God was leading me here. And I got in with the church, had a great experience there. They taught me so much, really, about church and about God. And during this period of time, I wanted to be a vocational pastor. I wanted to do it. I really felt that's what God's call was on in my life, and I really felt like that's what the direction was. So I worked really, really, really hard. I had a full-time job. I'd work 40 plus hours a week, normal kind of work week, but then I put in 40 plus hours at the church that I was working. I worked really hard. We did some really, really great things, some cool things. God taught me so much. I was such a blunt instrument whenever I came out of Bible college, and God really used that to chisel on me. But the whole time, I had this kind of unrest, this kind of frustration. I think that I was working so hard because I was trying to prove myself. I don't know how much of it was I was trying to prove myself to me or how much I was proving it to other people. Maybe 1,000 hours of counseling will figure that out, or maybe it doesn't even matter. But I was really, really, really trying to work hard at it, really trying to go down that path, tons and tons of frustration. I can remember just thinking to myself, I don't understand, all these good things are happening. How come, I apply and nobody's hiring me, things are happening. I started to doubt God's calling on my life. I started to doubt the direction. I'm like, God, I don't know what's up with this. I don't know where you're going. I don't know what you're doing. And I remember a particular day when I walked into our condo. And I walked in through the front door, and I shut the door behind me, and I'm standing in the foyer area, and I just told God, I just come off of a church event. I said, God, I quit. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm tired of working so hard. I'm tired of going down this path. I'm tired of all the headache really with it. I'm tired of not knowing what the future is. Apparently, I got this wrong. Apparently, I didn't get it right. Apparently, this is not really the calling on my life. And so, God, I'm done. I'm over. That's it. I told him, I said, I'm still going to do everything that I do with the church. I'm going to work hard, but I'm tired of actually feeling so frustrated about these sort of things. And after I did that, there was a huge peace that kind of fell over me. It was huge. Why? Because, the frustration was because I was trying to make something happen that couldn't be made to happen. It doesn't really work that way. But I felt this huge kind of peace kind of come over me. And can I tell you that 3 weeks later, Pastor Stan called me, a position had opened up. He actually worked it out through that church, called them and said, do you have anybody? And they said, yeah, we got a guy that's like chomping at the bit, ready to kind of go. God orchestrated that together. The second that I let that thing go, all of a sudden, God starts to step in my life. And here's why I want to tell you this. This is why it matters. This is why I feel like I experienced a lot of what Isaac's feeling. Maybe you've experienced some of the same things. Maybe there's a frustration. Maybe there's a life event. Maybe there's something that's just not going the same way. Here's what it is, though. This is big. The temptation when things go wrong is to try something new instead of looking to experience God in a new way. The temptation when things go wrong is to just try something new instead of looking to experience God in a new way. Here's what we're tempted. God, all these events have happened. All these things kind of go, I'm going to work this out. I'm going to blaze this trail. I'm going to go to all these things. Here's the master plan. I'm going to work. I'm going to go. The temptation is to try to do new things instead of looking to God when these unexpected events happen and trying to experience God in a new way in the midst of all the trials that are going on. Because here's the thing, picking up the shovel and digging a new well was not working for Isaac. It didn't work. On paper, it should have, right? Okay, you want that well? We're going to back up. We'll dig another well. You'll be fine there. You want that well? You back up. We're going to dig another well. You want that well? Back up. We're going to dig another well. That seemed like it would have worked, right? Sooner or later, you would have retreated. Sooner or later, they would have left you alone for good. As a matter of fact, he was really, really hoping that at that last series of wells, they were going to leave him alone. As a matter of fact, the text says on the last move that they didn't quarrel anymore over this well. But I'm going to tell you, it was just a matter of time. How do you know it was just a matter of time? Because God is about ready to show up. And God, the first thing that he says is, do not be afraid. Why? Because Isaac was still afraid. And what does he tell him in this dream? We're going to look at it in a second. He tells him that the promise is still there. Why? Because Isaac believed that the promise had left him. He knew sooner or later they're going to grow. They've got all the wells now. They're going to be on this way. And God had to show up in order to do something about that. So what does God do? What does this actually look like? Let's just read on. Genesis 26, 23 to 25. Here's what happens. From there, because he needs God in a fresh way. From there, he went up to Beersheba. That night, the Lord appeared to him. I love it when God shows up. Appeared to him and said, I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid. Why should he not be afraid? For I am with you. I will bless you and will increase the number of your descendants for the sake of my servant Abraham. Isaac built an altar there and called on the name of the Lord. And there he pitched his tent, and there his servants dug a well. Love it. God shows up and says, guess what? You don't have to be afraid anymore. I am with you. Doesn't feel like I'm with you. It feels like all of these events are with you and that I've somehow gone away. But I am with you. I will multiply you. Not, hey, I've got this really cool technique. You know, you're just going to have to dig harder. You're going to have to dig more, kind of go down. No. I am with you. I will bless you. I will make you prosper. And this is such a big thing because you can spend your entire life digging at a problem that only God can solve. You could spend your entire life shoveling one after another, working on a problem that only God can solve. And this is what God's trying to say. In the middle of that, in the middle of your experience, you don't have to be afraid. You just have to look to me. You just have to know that I am with you. Look for me to show up in a new kind of way. And this really resonated with Isaac. If you notice, for the first time, we're on the fourth set of wells, and for the first time, as the result of this dream, what does Isaac do? He turns his eyes to God. He immediately sets up an altar and starts worshiping the Lord. That's what he does. He sets this thing up and says, God, it's fine. He doesn't do that at set well number 1. He doesn't do that at well number 2. He doesn't do that at well number 3. He's doing all great things. Remember, he's a good guy in this story. He's being persecuted from the outside. But God's reminded him of what's really important. And so for the first time, he says, all right, God, I will worship you. I will set up this well. I will be with you here right now. If you notice, now he set up his tents. He's like, we're not mobile anymore. God is with us. The tents are set up. I know that he's going to turn this thing around. Because here's the thing. This is what Isaac experienced. Eyes on the problem brings fear, frustration, and anger. If you just keep your eyes on the problem, you're going to be like those stupid herders, again taking my well over and over and over, and you're going to be frustrated, and you're going to be angry, and you're going to experience all those kinds of things. If you just focus on the problem, that's what's going to happen. But if you focus on Jesus, eyes on Jesus brings joy, contentment, and eventual blessing. That's what the story says. If you will just keep your eyes on God, you will experience joy. Doesn't matter how many wells come through, because you know God's got you back in the middle of this. You will experience contentment. You know God's going to work this out for your good. His blessing is on my life. And you will eventually experience the blessing that Isaac experienced. I mean, come on. Every single time they put a shovel to the ground, they found water. You notice that? There's no story in there in the middle where they dug a well, no water here, let's move on to the other one. Every single time they put a shovel in the ground, they found water. Why? Because God had blessed them. Not only that, but God, we're going to finish this passage, God is going to do something that only God can do. You want to know what the real solution to this problem is? It's God's blessing, but God's working on it. Here's what he does. Genesis 26, 26 to 32. Meanwhile, Abimelech, we're back to the king. Abimelech had come to him from Gerar. So here's the king coming with Ahuzath, his personal advisor, and Phicol, the commander of his forces. You want to talk about an intimidating meeting, right? Here's the king, his top advisor, and his top general, okay? They're coming up. Isaac is freaking out. He says it in the passage. Isaac said to them, "Why have you come to me since you were hostile to me and sent me away?" Right? This is his greeting. What are you doing with your general and all this kind of stuff? What else is going on? They answered, we saw clearly. This is so good. This is back to the God is powerful thing. A life with God is powerful. We saw clearly that the Lord was with you. That God was with you. They saw it. I mean, who else puts a shovel? You backed up 4 times. You cannot be stopped. Your God cannot be stopped. So we said there ought to be a sworn agreement between us and you. Let us make a treaty with you so that you will do us no harm, just as we did not harm you, but always treated you well and sent you away peacefully. And now you are blessed by the Lord. And Isaac made a feast for them, and they ate and drank. Early the next morning, the men swore an oath to each other. Then Isaac sent them on their way, and they went away peacefully. That day, Isaac's servants came and told him about the well they had dug. They said, no shocker here, we've found water. And they called it Shiva, and to this day, the name of the town has been called Beersheba. And Shiva means oath. It actually means 7. It's this idea of completeness. In other words, God's promise is really there. It is complete. He has sworn it. We have an oath from him. This is really going to happen. I'm telling you, this is the most brilliant solution to the problem. You want to make sure that no herder's going to come after the well anymore? Now they have to deal with Isaac and the king. But that was not something that Isaac could even do. Isaac had been running for his life. That was something that only God can do. That was something that only God can do. And God, because his blessing was on Isaac, God did it. He did it after difficult circumstances, but he did it. And so here's what I want to leave you with, and this is going to be fast. 3 things. What can we really learn from this? How do you really live this? How do we put feet to this? This is 3 things, but it's going to be fast. First one, seek God before you move a muscle. Seek God before you move a muscle. Before one bicep twitches for the shovel. One flex of the guns, before one go, seek God first. I love this passage in Psalm 24. They will receive blessing from the Lord and vindication from God their Savior. Why? Because such is the generation of those who seek him, who seek your face, the God of Jacob. Jacob is his son, the God of Jacob. This is so good. I call this folded arms, open eyes prayer. This kind of prayer. You know when you take your car to the shop from the mechanic, what do? You don't go, oh, please, mechanic, please, can you fix my car? Oh, my car hath rattled for many years. You don't do that kind of thing. It's not the same sort of thing. This is an open eye kind of situation. What do? You talk to the mechanic, right? You say, hey, so this is really what's going on here. And you do one of these. If you've got a beard, you pet it, and you do one of these where you go, you know what? I got a shimmy in the front end. I got a shake in this thing. I don't know what's going on, and I don't see what's happening here. I don't know. And then you talk to him. Why do you talk and why do you do this sort of thing? You have supreme confidence that the mechanic can take care of it, right? You wouldn't take it to him in that. You don't go to your gardener with a car problem, right? You go to the mechanic sort of thing. I'm telling you, you go to God in the same kind of way. There's nothing wrong. There's no magic way to pose, eyes closed, eyes open, that kind of thing. But the posture of your heart has to be like this. I like to find a room and pace, okay? You just pace back and forth. You're like, God, here's what's going on. This is the situation, God. I'm faced with this unexpected bill, unexpected job loss, unexpected relationship snafu, whatever sort of thing. You're like, God, this is it. And God, I'm not going to move a muscle until you tell me really what direction to go. I'm willing to do whatever you say, God, and that's a big thing. We have to be willing to do whatever God says. But God, I want you to show me what principles should I be using? What thoughts should I have? What direction should I go in the middle of it? Before you move a muscle, you have to seek God first. Second thing, work with God on the solution. Work with God on the solution. Work with God on the solution. Here's the thing, this may sound weird to you, but you can actually outwork God on a problem. You can outwork him. He's like, what? I said, some of us believe that if God had hired us, he would have finished creation a day early. God, I would have had the universe like by Thursday. I don't know why I took you to Friday. I don't know really what's going on. Some of us really feel that way. God, and you know what? That's when we ask God, why aren't you moving faster? Why aren't you doing these things? God, I don't understand. It's like, God, you're not quick enough. I'd be quicker. Give me the keys to the kingdom, God. I'll just take care of all this kind of stuff. The thing is, if you try to outwork God, you leave him. That's what it is. You leave him. You step right out of the blessing. You blaze a trail, and you're 100 miles that way, and God's back there going, dude, I said left. Left. You're 100 miles. That was so much wasted time and energy and effort. I said this way. He's like, come on back. Come on this way, bro. I mean, that's the idea. He's like, you got to follow me. You're only going to get that kind of instruction if you are with God on the problem. You are next to him. You're not saying, God, I'm going to take this under my own power and under my own control. Acts 10 says this way. This is testimony about Jesus from Peter. You know of Jesus of Nazareth, how God anointed him with the Holy Spirit and with power, and how he went about doing good and healing all who were oppressed by the devil. That sounds awesome, right? I mean, Jesus is amazing. Why was he able to do that? For God was with him. With him. With him. Be with God on it. This is radical, but invite God into every action along the way. Say, God, this is you and me. I'm not going a step further than you go. Here's the last one. Trust the outcomes to him. Trust the outcomes to him. Here's the beautiful thing about a relationship with Jesus. This is the beauty of the relationship with Jesus. You can trust him. You can trust the outcomes. The second you invite Jesus into your heart, and the second you say, God, I'm going to follow you. I'll take your life for mine. I'm tired of working so hard. I'm done with the shovel. I'm tired of digging and digging and digging and not getting the results that I'm really looking for. I've come to realize that I need you. I need something beyond myself. The second that you do that, you have to understand this. Your future is secure. That's it. It's done. When God has made up his mind on something, nothing can change it. No set of circumstances can change it. No events in life can change it. Nothing can change God's mind on something when he's made his mind up. And guess what God's made his mind up on? He's made his mind up on you. He loves you. He loves you with a love that we don't even understand, that encompasses any situation, that encompasses any set of circumstances. He loves you in the middle of it. Your best future was already decided. When Jesus went to that cross, your best outcome, no matter what life throws at you, has already been decided. All you have to do is to trust him with it. Be like, God, we'll work on this together. I'll seek you. That way there's no wasted effort. I don't want to blaze a trail when you've already decided that this is the way. I want to go with you, God. I will be with you in this journey, God. I will trust every outcome to you, God, because my future has been decided, and I'm going to be with you. And that's good news, church. That's the best news we could possibly get. So